We can't move on to 2022 until we fully investigate all of the Democrat cheating from 2020. The time for civility is over. The time for bipartisanship is over. Now is the time for fighters.
We aren't going to let this election be stolen by Joe Biden and the Democrats. President Trump won by a landslide.
I grew up in a world where you have an audit every year. And in businesses, you have an audit. So let's just audit the voting machines, publish it so everybody can see it.
The Republican Party this year has been, well, a hot mess and, frankly, a danger to democracy. So what could this mean if the Republican Party takes control in 2022? My panel is back with me now to break it all down. Renee, Tara, and John. Okay, John, I'm going to come to you first because, as you said in the last block, you've worked up there for 30-something years. Well, you said 3 decades. But I've been talking a long time, since the insurrection, that there's an atmosphere of menace on Capitol Hill. Has that atmosphere of menace dissipated or increased since January 6th?
I don't know how to really how to evaluate that. I mean, recently we had the president and vice president on the Hill, and a person was caught with a gun at the same time. You know, in the weeks and months after January 6th, the Hill was unrecognizable to me. You know, there were thousands of National Guard troops. I mean, I feel like it's better, but you know, then poor Officer Billy Evans got killed at the gate. There's still incidents. There's still threats out there. I mean, from members. I think the tension between members. I mean, I've started covering Congress in pre-Newt Gingrich and then the Newt Gingrich era, and it was so toxic then. It's not even comparable to this today. What we have is an order of magnitude greater. It's by several orders of magnitude greater. I mean, they genuinely. House Democrats are some of them are genuinely afraid of their Republican colleague. Right. That they're a physical threat to them. I mean, there's still metal detectors outside the House chamber. So, could I say it's better? I mean, or worse? I think, I don't know. I think a year later, the level of distrust is as bad as it's ever been, and you just scratch the surface, and it's right there.
So, Tara, I'm reminded of something Mitch McConnell said earlier in the year when there was talk about doing away with the filibuster, and he went to the floor and said basically, y'all better watch out, because if you do it now, when we come back into power, it's going to be scorched earth. That's not an idle threat. Like, if Republicans become the majority, either in the House or the Senate, it's going to be scorched earth.
100%. Listen, however you feel about Mitch McConnell, he knows what the hell he's doing as Senate Majority Leader. I mean, you could argue that Mitch McConnell was still running the Senate, even as Minority Leader this year, with how dysfunctional the Senate has been under Chuck Schumer's leadership, unfortunately. But listen, the Republicans have already demonstrated what they'll do. When the Democrats first changed the rules for judicial nominations, when Harry Reid was Senate Majority Leader, they did it just because they wanted to unlock the gridlock concerning Obama's federal judges, right? So what did the Republicans do? They said, okay, hold my beer. And then what did they do? They got rid of the filibuster majority rules for Supreme Court nominees. So you think that Mitch McConnell's not going to get rid of the filibuster altogether to push forward whatever legislative agenda Republicans want? Of course he will. So he's already said in front of donors, Republican donors, that they're not putting forth the legislative agenda for the 2022. They're going to sit back and attack Democrats and just sit there and wait until they take power again. So, it's a wake-up call. You don't think that in the House, if you get a Speaker of the House, McCarthy, who I don't think that's ever going to happen. I've said this many times on the show. I shocked you when I said, don't be surprised if you see Speaker Jim Jordan or who, one of the other, political poltroons that are out there on the Republican side. But, don't think that they won't try to impeach Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or both of them at the same time. I mean, they have no interest in governing. The Republicans are a non-governing party. They want to own the libs and put forth authoritarian means to win elections. That's not a joke. We see it happening.
No. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that anticipates the question I was going to ask Renee, and that is on the House side, if you do get a Speaker Jim Jordan, a Speaker Marjorie Taylor Greene, let's just be fanciful here, a Speaker Madison Cawthorn, it's not going to happen. But if Republicans take over the House, doesn't Tara have a point that all hell's going to break loose, and they could file articles of impeachment against the president and the vice president?
Okay, can I just say first, Jonathan, Speaker Jim Jordan, hush yourself. Don't even put that out into
I started it.
Okay?
It's Tara. Don't blame me.
Okay?
I'm just keeping it 100. Tara said, all hell will break loose. Nothing will get done. This will be a vengeance fantasy that Quentin Tarantino could not have dreamt of. This is all they're going to do. It is going to be payback time. McConnell has said it. Trump has certainly said it. And that's what this is about. It's always been about kind of amassing power for the sake of power. But we need to always be clear. The malignancy that is now the Republican Party has been lying in wait for years. And now it's really coming to the fore. Trump didn't create it. All he did was exploit it. And so I keep thinking back to when there would be some sort of terrorist attack and there was a Muslim group behind it, and people would say, where are all the good Muslims? Where are all the good Republicans? Where are the Republicans stepping up and saying, this is not what our country has to become and what we want our country to be? And to me, their silence says that they are complicit in this. The silence also says to me that there are no longer any good Republicans. Well, there are. They're getting excommunicated. Ask Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney or Mitt Romney or the handful of Republicans that you could basically fit in a canoe at this point that are stepping up and speaking out. They risk their careers, which tells you everything you need to know about the state of the Republican Party. Liz freaking Cheney is no longer considered a Republican in this climate. You've got to be kidding me.
But it also says how craven the party is as well, that they won't step up.
Correct.
They won't step up to something.
Luckily, you guys are going to be in the next panel.